When looking at upcoming video game releases, it's very easy to get caught up in the news cycle, the journalistic reports on them, what critics are saying, what fans are saying. It's easy to fall into that stream of consciousness and lose your own personal opinion or thought. I try to remain as impartial as possible, but it does happen to me. There are critics that I trust, there are journalistic outlets that I'll turn to if I'm unsure about a game. But most of the time, if I feel like I'm gonna like a game, I just go for it. There are definitely instances in which I've not heeded my own instinct and just listened to what everyone else was saying, what the crowd was saying. And The Division was one of those titles. It was a game that I completely avoided because of what people were saying about it. And I just got done playing the Division 2 beta, and the first thing I wanted to do was parse out why I didn't play the first one exactly, and why I am for sure going to be playing the second one. The Division is an online MMO action RPG shooter. It's really all of those things. A common comparison would be Destiny. So if you're familiar with that, The Division is similar. It's just on Earth. Shit, I think Destiny was on Earth at one point too. Well, okay, fine. Division is, it's like Destiny, but you're playing as a human? No, can you play as a human? God damn it. Okay, anyway, scratch that. The Division is Destiny, but The Division is made by Ubisoft and Destiny is made by Activision. No, shit, wait, Destiny's made by Bungie? Okay, I'm getting myself all turned around here. We'll look at it this way. Destiny, bad. Division, good? Or is it the other way around? Okay, you know what? Screw it. We're gonna move past the comparisons. We're gonna act like Destiny doesn't even exist. And even though these games are compared all the time, it's non-existent. We're just gonna stick with talking about The Division here. It's also accurately described as a loot shooter in which you're killing enemies, gathering loot from them, leveling up, and hopefully you're improving over time with the gear that you get by looting. So that's the basics of the game. I'm not going to get into too much of the story stuff. You can figure that out on your own. But as you can see from the gameplay behind my voice, it's a third-person over-the-shoulder camera, and you're very much reliant on using cover when you're in firefights with enemies. So nothing new, nothing crazy. It's all very mechanically familiar. If you've played a third-person shooter, you're going to figure this out pretty quickly. The Division was announced back in 2013 at Ubisoft's E3 press conference. Now, we all know that games shown at E3 more often than not end up not quite being exactly what's presented. There are graphical downgrades, sometimes there's entire things missing that might have been shown during a presentation. There's no reason for you to expect that what is shown during an E3 press conference is how the game is actually going to play, because, like I said, more often than not, it isn't. It's the company's job to show you a product, to sink you in, to get you into it. They want you to buy the game, so they're going to pull out every stop that they can to interest you, to make sure that you're clamoring to get this game when it comes out, a year or two later. And they did a really, really good job showing off The Division. It was one of the most talked about games from that press conference, and certainly the entire E3 show that year. I remember in particular, there was a part of the gameplay demo where you're moving in cover alongside of a car and your character just shuts the door of the car on their own, and I was like mind blown at that. I thought that was the coolest thing. Your player that you're controlling is actually interacting with the world. It was something that I had only seen recently in games like Uncharted, where your character, you're in control of them, you're moving them through the world, but they're aware of the world around them and they'll interact with things on their own accord. That doesn't seem like it's taking you out of the action, but in fact enhancing it. When I saw that character close the door on its own, I was pretty much sold, actually. It was that easy back then to get me interested in a game and wanting to buy it. I'm also a huge sucker for online co-op games, whatever they are. If they happen to be MMO and you're playing with a larger squad of people, even more fun. I'm super into that. So initial impression, I was completely into it. I was so ready for this game, I couldn't wait. And let's flash forward a little bit closer to the release date. So while it was shown in 2013, The Division actually didn't come out until March 2016, so 3 years later. Usually what I do as we near a video game's release date is if I'm super interested and I'm planning on buying it, I tend to hide myself from reviews or anything because I want to go in fresh and have my own experience. Now, that's something I've done more in just the past couple years. It's something that I wanted to do in order to help define my own tastes and really figure out what I like in a video game. I've been playing them my whole life, and I've found that too often I was relying on reviews or what people were saying to help enhance my own opinion, rather than, you know, going in fresh and getting an experience on my own. As we got closer to the release date, I began to second guess my feelings on it. I all of a sudden was unsure if I was going to pick it up. I started seeing criticisms online about how there were sections of the game that were very uneventful, a lot of just walking around an empty city. There was also criticism that this was too much of an Ubisoft game, that all the systems were borrowing too much from past Ubisoft games, and at that time I was kind of disillusioned with Ubisoft in general because I had played a lot of Assassin's Creed recently and had grown bored of it, and I just didn't have a lot of faith in them as a publisher to put out games that I wanted to play. There was a lot being said that it had done little to expand on an already existing genre and do things on its own accord, or kind of reinvent some aspects of it. And if you go down the list of the criticisms that were coming out around the time of release, it was all stuff that I don't like and tend to avoid. Enemies being boring and bullet spongy, combat in general just being lackluster. It seems like there was general lukewarm reviews all around for this game. And it was in the weeks following release that I feel like I made the right choice. There's a now famous video by the YouTuber Crowdcat that shows the downgrades from when this game was showed at press conferences to what it looked like at its actual release. But what really made me feel like I made the right choice in not picking up this game is that the player count dropped 93% after launch, from 2.1 million players to 143,000 on Steam. That's a massive, massive drop. So I saw that and I just saw that it dropped. I saw that the player base was evaporating, and I decided, okay, well, everyone's leaving. I'm glad I never joined in the first place. Now, what I failed to notice at the time is that they actually had 2.1 million players just on Steam at one point. Now, I didn't even think about that number at the time. I just completely glazed over it. And it wasn't until The Division 2 was coming out that I actually went back and looked at the numbers for The Division. The Division is actually Ubisoft's best-selling game and their biggest first-week launch ever. It did 330 million globally in its first week. That's insane. I mean, it really did some very impressive numbers and pretty much locked in a franchise. I mean, there's no way they're gonna do that much and then not make a sequel. So the fact is that The Division was a massive success for Ubisoft, despite the lukewarm reviews, despite the evaporating player base, despite the post-launch criticism of their DLC. They did insane with this game. They did big numbers with this game. Seriously, this is a big deal how much they sold. This past weekend, the Division 2 public beta went live. It was on my radar, but I honestly didn't have much interest in playing it. In fact, I waited till today, Monday, the last day of the beta, to even get into it. I had time over the weekend even to play it, but I got into Apex Legends a little bit too much. I'm addicted to that game. Help me, oh god.
Hey brother, watch out!
I want to say it was also kind of easy for me to avoid this beta because the last open beta I played was Anthem, and that shit sucked. Why would I waste my time playing a open beta for a game I'm not even that interested in? And the last one I played was broken as hell, and I could be playing Apex Legends, the greatest game ever made, Gibraltar! But I put the time aside, and I was gonna play The Division 2. I was ready. I was gonna go in. I was gonna try to forget the past, go in with eyes unclouded. And I'm so glad I did, because I think I'm definitely gonna get The Division 2 now. I'm not going to implore you to go out and buy this game. Definitely come to your own opinions. That is super important. But my opinion was absolutely changed by this beta. The first thing I noticed was how snappy and responsive everything was. The frame rate was great. Visually, it's not incredibly impressive, but I thought it was decent looking. The world seems to be very active. There's a lot going on. Traveling is easy and actually pretty eventful. There's other NPCs that you'll run into, enemies of course. And they do a great job early on getting you familiar with the systems and leveling up, all the things that you're going to need to know to travel throughout this game. And within the first 30 minutes, I began to get this sense of what I was hoping this game will turn out to be. I can imagine myself playing with a group of friends and we're each specced out in a specific way. Maybe one of us is a healer, one is more support, one's assault, maybe one's a heavy. It seems like with the systems they have in place that you're going to be able to do that. And that's something I am way into, like super into. I love that stuff. I love MMO style games, and I really hope that The Division 2 has developed more of a sense of that aspect over the first game and can expand on it in a really meaningful way. And the thing I kept coming back to throughout the beta was how much I was enjoying this and how much I might have enjoyed the first game. It gave me this feeling that I missed out on something I actually would have really enjoyed, and that's purely because I just followed what everyone else was saying. But I need to reiterate that it is absolutely okay to follow what others are saying if you trust them and what they're saying is more or less the truth. Of course, there were many things wrong with The Division, but at its core, it was a functional game that had its systems in place and worked how it was intended. And those systems are ones that I enjoy playing around with. So would I have enjoyed The Division? I don't know. I'm definitely not going to go back and play it with the new one coming out, but maybe there was a chance I liked it. I don't know. And I've definitely been wanting a loot shooter experience. I've really enjoyed them in the past. I've had a good time with Destiny and Destiny 2, not to bring them up again, but you know that you kind of have to. Borderlands, I love that game series so much, and I miss it. I really want a Borderlands 3 sooner than later. But until then, I have to find something to fill that void, and it's sure as shit not going to be the more recent one. So maybe The Division 2 can help me out. So I think I'm just really scratching at the surface of this game series. If you've played it before, if you have experience with it, I'm interested to know your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments. If I'm completely wrong, if I should not buy this game, scream it at me in the comments. Do what you gotta do, because again, maybe I'll listen to you. I don't know. Maybe I'll tune you out. Who knows? But please let me know. And if you like this video, subscribe for more. Thanks, everyone.